Respondent behavior and conditioning. Ivan Pavlov, classical conditioning. Dogs salivate to neutral stimulus. The sound of owner's feet when previously only salivated to the sight of food. Began sounding the tone before feeding the dogs. Eventually the dog began to salivate to sound of tone. This demonstrates a new meaning to previously neutral stimulus. The sound of tone. Examples of classical conditioning. Kids who often get strep throat, after much swabbing of their throat, begin to gag as soon as they see the doctor with the swab. Hearing a teacher, a roommate, a boyfriend or girlfriend say to you in a serious tone, "We need to talk." Upon hearing this phrase your stomach flutters. The point is, we learn to associate a stimulus with a response, and eventually our body does this automatically in the presence of the stimulus. Our response is involuntary. Classical conditioning can face extinction, where the learning is undone. This can happen naturally. The dog stops getting meat when music is played. Or can happen through some type of therapy in the case of severe anxiety reactions. Example: people who are afraid to fly. Remember, classical conditioning is more than forming an association, it is an involuntary, physiological response. Skinner quote: "A person who has been punished is not less inclined to behave in a given way, at best, he learns how to avoid punishment." Self-efficacy. A study on Albert Bandura. Albert Bandura. He was born in 1925 in Alberta, Canada. Grew up in a small town. Attended the University of British Columbia. Enrolled in a general psychology course by chance. Majored in psychology and graduated in 1949. Went to graduate school at University of Iowa and graduated in 1952. In 1953 he taught at Stanford and wrote his first book Adolescent Aggression with Richard Walters. In 1974 he was elected president of the American Psychological Association. Retired from teaching March 15, 2010. Social cognitive theory. Social cognitive theory provides a large body of verified knowledge about the determinants and psychological mechanisms governing observational learning of behavioral and social competencies, cognitive skills, and emotional propensities. Bandura, self-efficacy. If I have the belief that I can do it, I shall surely acquire the capacity to do it, even if I may not have it at the beginning. Mahatma Gandhi. Observational learning. Bandura believes that we learn a great deal through imitation by observing models and mentally coding what we see. Bandura versus Skinner. Bandura argues that in social situations we often learn much more rapidly simply through observing behavior of others, which is more immediate. In Skinner's theory, learning appears to be a gradual process in which organisms must act to learn, behavior shaped over time by consequences. Learning would be exceedingly laborious, not to mention hazardous, if people had to rely solely on the effects of their own action to inform them what to do. Bandura, 1977. Bandura's theory focuses on how we observe and imitate the world around us. Bandura's theory integrates a continuous interaction between behaviors, environment, cognitions. Quote, "Self-belief does not necessarily ensure success, but self-disbelief assuredly spawns failure." Sources of self-efficacy appraisals. Actual performance. Efficacy perceived through performance experiences. Success builds a strong belief in one's personal efficacy, and failure undermines it. Bandura believes this to be the most influential source of knowledge. Vicarious experiences, appraising one's capabilities in relation to the attainment of others. Sources of self-efficacy appraisals. Verbal persuasion, easier to sustain a sense of efficacy, especially when struggling with difficulties, if significant others express faith in one's capabilities than if they convey doubts. Psychological cues. In judging their capabilities, people rely partly on somatic information conveyed by physiological and emotional states. Bandura, self-efficacy. Nature versus nurture. It's appealing to imagine children making their own discoveries and creating their own ideas. In reality, however, children's minds are structured by the environment, by the models and the social training practices the environment provides. Bandura, 1977. End of Unit 2. To gain a deeper knowledge and understanding of the topics discussed in this unit, please study the PDF materials provided and watch the remaining videos for this unit.